Hello again. So, just a very short video on trauma. So, modern trauma science in the West. Fascinating subject, well worth looking into. This may be the route in which we come into this from the West. I don't know. If you look, we're already embracing the Eastern practices to some extent. There's talk of mindfulness, for example, that is Eastern. But trauma science, I haven't seen yet infiltrate, and yet I think it will infiltrate mainstream Western medicine science. In fact, it already is, really. So trauma is not the old adage of, and it can be, of having a car accident or having an awful upbringing. It's not about that. It's about how our system, that's body and mind, adapt to survive. So all of us are brought up in an environment where it is not okay to be ourselves. Our system realizes from a very early age that it is not okay to be yourself. That might seem very simplistic, and you might say, I don't even know what that means. But what it really means is, however we as human beings are supposed to function is not being allowed. It's not being allowed. And you could say through evolution, that's to survive. So let's give an example. It's not okay to express yourself fully. So an emotion, let's take anger. Anger is a great one. If we look at society, it's very, very fearful of anger, because anger can cause so much destruction, can't it? So we learn to turn away from that emotion in ourselves. And when we see perhaps other people being angry, that frightens us, because it does look very out of control. And if you were to ask the person, they would probably say, if they were honest, that they felt a little bit out of control, or they probably wouldn't be able to understand what was happening because of a lack of an awareness. So what tends to happen with any emotion when it arises is our mind is already engaged. So we are up in our minds, and this is why Eastern practices are very powerful, because we're not going to be up in our minds, and it hijacks you. So instead of noticing that you're angry in the body, because that's where it starts, and it moves to the mind, we're just straight in the mind. We don't even know we have sensations in our body. We're angry, and therefore we can't ascertain that we're angry. But in fact, we don't even see the thought, I am angry. And so we start pointing outwards. So I've digressed a little bit from trauma, but those were the mechanics of an emotion. So yes, so trauma science is about adaptation. And it is a fascinating subject, it really is. And it's absolutely imperative that we get this into the mainstream, because it will change the world. Like, it really will. We understand that we are exactly as we're supposed to be. Like, depressed people aren't depressed people. They are coping the best that their system thinks they can cope. Think of anybody, the most extreme people in the world, their systems are coping as best as they can, thinking this is the way to go to survive. This is it. This is the number one way. It may seem from the outside like, whoa, why would you? But no, this is what happens, and survival trumps everything else until it doesn't. So we then have to insert that thing I was talking about, awareness, into this survival mechanism. if we want to heal it, because its job is to keep us safe. So no wonder it gets threatened when we start to unravel it, because its job is to keep us safe. It has no interest in being unraveled, because its job is to keep us safe. You could say it's to keep it safe, but ultimately it's all about safety. So this is a hugely key part of everything, really, and something the Eastern practices do not understand. Our system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It is not a mistake. Your body does what it needs to do to survive. So something to really perhaps help people who think that somehow what they're doing in life is totally wrong. There might be some good intuition there, but the point is, your system is doing the best job it can, always. As Jesus would say, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." He was pointing to this. It's like until we can bring consciousness, awareness into this stuff, this will just carry on as it is, and all of the shame can come out of this. This is and something to work on. I might talk about shame. That it is not your fault that you are the way you are. This is a deeply conditioned, evolved system. It's not where we stop. We don't stop here. It's just something to note. It's something to understand so that we can move forward. If we're pretending somehow that we are completely free-willed creatures who can just do whatever we like, we are wrong. And trauma science will show us this. It's much easier to work with our system when we understand how it works. Right? Just like any good scientist would do the same. So let's understand trauma and how it works. It's really useful. So I just completed a certificate with the Centre for Healing. Really good team there. I knew a lot of it already, but it's so good. I recommend it. And Matt and Ryan there offering a free course. Absolutely mind-blowing, I think, for many people. If you just listen to them, these are two guys who've been through hell and back again. Like, really, almost a miracle that certainly Matt has survived. Absolutely amazing. And he speaks just so much sense. Like, really, listen to these people. Listen to them. And listen to me. And I think that's all I'm going to say on trauma for now. But yeah, it is such a fascinating subject. For God's sake, let's learn about it. And subscribe.